I think that the pandemic in Quebec has been handled poorly since day one. I despise the fact that at every press conference, our leader, Mr. Legault, will compares us to the United States or other places to say how well we're doing, and seems to lead off every Facebook or every press conference with a statement about that we're doing well, we're doing everything we can, something self flattering, and I just feel like it's being mishandled. The government subventions, the help, have been good from the federal side, but are not sustainable in that the cash flow situation it doesn't work. The one restaurant we haven't talked about, the Wolf and Workman in Montreal, which we opened about a year and a half ago. We're not even doing takeout here just because it's not sustainable. When you have to wait 8 weeks, you have to pay out your staff and your rent and your amenities and all that, and then wait 8 weeks to get a check. It just doesn't work. There's been, even when we were open, the brief period that we were open, there was a constant message coming from the government: don't go to restaurants. We saw it happen the first 2 weeks when we were reopened. The first 2 weeks were good. Then the government said, everyone who's been to a restaurant, go get tested. Then things slowly built up. And then somebody came out, Dubé, the health minister, came out and said, don't go to restaurants. And we saw it drop off again. And it's not about being whether we're open or not. It's about, if we are open, if you're gonna open us, you gotta support us. You gotta say, okay, we're open. We're confident you guys can be open. But the worst thing was being in that gray area where they're like, okay, you guys can open, but we're gonna dissuade the public from going to your establishments. How crazy is it that you would take the decision to open an industry and then tell everyone, the government tell people not to visit these establishments, not to spend any money in this industry.
Right.
And then it's also the lack of transparency is obviously a problem. All of a sudden now they're bringing out data on where infections are coming from, schools or workplaces and all that. And so one of the things I'm working on, sort of social media campaigns, we're asking for the retroactive data. Show us the data that shows that restaurants were responsible before you closed us. So the data's out now that we're closed, right? So we want to see that there is in fact science behind the facts that we're closed. And if you show us the science saying, listen, that a large percentage of outbreaks were coming from restaurants and bars, I would say almost every owner in Montreal would agree and would voluntarily close their doors. We're out here for the public health. It's really important to us, but we just want to see the science. The slogan we're using is science, not politics. We want to see the science behind the reasoning for closing us. We want also, I mean, it's the constant, okay, you're closed for 28 days. And then, you're closed for another 28 days, and you're closed for another 28 days. And my biggest issue with the whole thing, the way that it's being handled, is yes, we've been given government subventions, maybe enough for some of us to survive, sort of thing. On the second shutdown, there's been nothing for the staff.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Zero for the staff. There's no CERB anymore. They're all on employment insurance. So with all these subventions they're throwing at us, what about there's 150,000 people on the island of Montreal who are out of work because they work in restaurants and bars, and nothing has come their way other than the regular employment insurance.
Yeah, I do agree with you that I love that slogan, right? Science, not politics, because I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I do just believe in the data, and it's been weird, to say the least, on how they make certain decisions, where it's like, okay, if you're a group of 6, it's okay, but 7 is not, or like, you can be open till this time, and why is 9 p.m. okay, but past whatever it was 10 or 11 is not, and there's a lot of kind of things that just don't add up, and I think everyone would at least feel more comfortable seeing the data on these decisions. Because the way I saw it was kind of like a catch-22. Like they really vilified restaurants and bars, and for me that really bothered me. And the part that I think really sucked was it was a lose-lose in the sense that if they closed restaurants and cases went up, they'd be like, "Oh, see, we closed restaurants, cases went up." And if they closed restaurants and cases didn't go up, they'd be like, "Oh, well, thank God we closed restaurants," right? So it's like there's no kind of outcome.
Yeah, there was no way we were going to win, right? If cases is shot down right away after they close restaurants, it
Yeah,
would be not our fault. I mean, I said from the beginning, like you don't want to start gambling with people's lives and new infections and stuff. But I said, you know what, the best case scenario is probably that they stay stable for a few weeks, a few months or a month, and then
yeah.
start to go down. So that happens, except they started going up
Wow.
at the end of it.
And you know what? I just want to give kudos to, all the hospitality professionals who really put money and effort. Because like personally, I was okay going out, like I understood the risk, but I was okay going out to restaurants and supporting and when things were open. And to be honest, at least in my experience, I can't speak to everyone, but in my experience, they were way more prepared than, going to Costco or Home Depot. Like when I went to a restaurant or bar, took my name down, had to wash my hands at the door. So they had my contact details to, trace back if anything. There was plexiglass. You can only get up to go to the washroom, right? You had to put on your mask. So it was like really well organized, right? Capacity limits were put down. And, you look at that and how much effort and money was put into kind of, adapting to only close down again. To me, that's the part that I really feel, frustration uh, towards.
And you know what? It's Legault the other day referenced. He's always throwing out statistics and studies and things like that to back up his ideas. And on the other day, he referenced when he was saying that we're continued to be closed. He referenced a Stanford study done saying that 15% of there was 10 cities looked at in the U.S. and 15% of outbreaks came from restaurants. And it's funny, I was watching the press conference on my computer and I opened up another browser window and I Googled it because I'm like, okay, he's using a study. Fine. Let's say, here's some science. Let's take a look at it. And every single one of those places was at full capacity. If the restaurants were operating at full capacity. And there's another study right beside of it from the CDC in the US saying that if a restaurant is at 60% capacity, you reduce infection rates by 80%.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, well, he's like, I guess like all politicians, he's going to use, the studies that
Exactly.
that work for him.
Present the data in a certain
But it's
way,
just,
right? Just to fit your narrative.
And the way it's also, when I say science, not politics, the way it's being handled, where there seems to be sort of different rules and different ways of handling this pandemic when it comes to places that the CAC holds the seats and where they don't, right? Yeah, there's not one elected official on the island of Montreal from the CAC. So, and we feel that exclusion. We feel that, like he realizes his voter base is not here. So, there's less urgency in fixing the problems and making a solution that works for everyone.